The very best game I've ever played. Now that's a bit of a bold thing to say considering my Ohio 409,000 damage game a little while ago. But this game I think I played even better. The result isn't quite as insane, although it is still very, very, very good. I just think the decision making and my specific play in this match was better. It's a little harder to do in a cruiser considering there's a lot more overmatch and some randomness that can happen that really punishes you pretty hard, especially in a ship like the Salem. If you watched my video on this ship, the little 5-minute review I put out this week, you'll know some of the strengths and weaknesses, including that 30mm plating. Of course, this game, we do have to watch out. There is something like a Thunderer on the enemy team, which of course overmatches us everywhere. To start off with though, this is a full game. I'm starting right from spawn because I want to show you the decision making that goes into an incredible game like this. It's very easy to post the highlights and just be like, wow, look at how amazing this is. It's more interesting to me to show how those things happened. And it starts off with our initial positioning. We start in the middle of the map, but we end up going towards the A flank. And that's because C tends to stall out. I think if you've played on this match at tier 10, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a stalemate where everybody's camping behind islands. And it really comes down to who wins the A-B side of the map and gets those cross shots in, right? It tends to result in a win for whoever wins the A flank. And we have 2 ships out here. So it's very important that we come out to the A flank and try and support this side. It's unlikely we're going to win it outright, but we do need to stall it considering most of our team is going for C. Now, thinking about this before we even engage anyone is important because it determines how we want to play this flank. If we have the majority of our team on the same flank that you're playing, you're going to want to play more aggressive. You're wanting to take more advanced positions and trying to force the engagement with the enemy since you have an advantage. You have more ships likely than the enemy team does. However, if you only have a few ships like we do on this flank, you want to be careful. You want to be cautious. You don't want to take an aggressive position that's going to result in your early death and likely in losing the flank, because holding a flank really does rely on taking very good engagements, safe trades, not giving away 1-for-1 type of HP, right? Where you're trading 1-for-1. That's not what you want to do. So kiting is definitely important. And, well, you're seeing some poor aim here to start with. I hadn't played Salem in a little while, and this was before that Salem review, so I figured I should probably get some experience before talking about it again. But eventually we get our aim down here. This is going to be a dead Des Moines, a very aggressive position to take, and it makes me think they have a lot of ships here, because like I said, when you have a lot of ships on your team on one flank, you want to take aggressive positions. So that's what it makes me think. So that's why I'm not turning in yet. The other thing, the Thunder hasn't shot yet, and turning broadside, turning in when a Thunderer could be shooting you, that's a pretty dangerous thing to do. So the Thunder also pushing makes me think there's more here, even though it's not been spotted. Most of the enemy team actually hasn't been spotted, but just the aggressive plays these guys are making makes me think there's a lot here, and that's why I'm playing so passive. The other thing I'm doing is I'm constantly zooming out with free cam. This is right mouse click if you're using default controls, and it allows you to keep your crosshair on target while getting this zoomed out broad view. A lot of the play of a cruiser, especially in open water, comes down to how aware you are of people shooting at you and reacting to those shots. For now, it's only a Thunderer, but priority target is telling us there's only one person shooting us, probably still the Thunderer. However, the Thunderer is shooting someone else now, and we were still locked onto. So being aware of these things allows you to play some pretty risky positions, assuming you're able to maneuver and dodge the incoming salvos that you're aware of. This Thunder, of course, getting pushed away, which is really good, but we can't turn in and chase him down and trying to kill him. And that's because there's a Prince Ruprecht coming in. Map awareness is really, really, really important. Even though killing this Thunder would be nice, you can see I'm even tempted to turn in here, but we can't. Pushing into a Prince Ruprecht means death. Those secondaries are just too good. So we're going to play passive still. But you can see we're already up to 70k damage, and we're doing a decent job of slowing down this flank. Now that more people are spotted, you can see just how outnumbered we really were on this flank to begin with. We had a Bradisi come over as well later on, but we're still a little bit outnumbered, especially now that our Zhao has died, and that's actually behind me. Makes me think that they were definitely focused on that guy instead of me, which is good. You want to take advantage of the enemy team focusing on someone else to get some free, relatively easy damage in. This Prince Ruprecht is probably going to die unless he makes a really aggressive turnout and manages to go undetected. So we're just going to be patient again. We're not going to risk things. We're not going to rush things, because at this point, our team is losing a lot of ships. You can see that we have C, but we're down on caps, and we're pretty much down on numbers as well. I say down on caps because they're flipping A. There's really not much we can do about it, assuming somebody's in there undetected. Getting a double fire on the Prince Ruprecht, of course, Salem. I talked about this in the Salem review. The DPM is just insane. The fire chance, the fires per minute is also really, really high. So damage output isn't the struggle here. The struggle is maintaining our HP pool and crucially not taking Citadels. Citadels with the Salem heal are rough. I mean, you have a super heal that suddenly becomes just a regular normal heal and you have one less charge of as soon as you take a Citadel. It's really, really, really brutal. Now that the enemy team seems to be running away, you can see the Hipper turning and deciding to run, it's time to push back in. But we need to play it safe. There's potentially a Donskoy, a Thunderer, and a Des Moines all waiting for us to push back in, and we don't have a lot of help. We have a Jean Bart, but he's going to be a little bit behind us, so it's important we go for the islands. There's a lot of crucial decisions here. The early game really relied on playing passive, saving our HP, taking good trades. And now that we're through that, and we need to play more aggressive given the score and our team being down on ships, it really comes down to playing around islands well. I talk about this a lot when pushing and brawling in a battleship, but the same thing is true in a cruiser. Playing around islands can really help you win a lot of unfavorable engagements. That's what we're going to do. These islands are decent to work with. The important thing is going to be limiting the battleships that are able to shoot at us, specifically the Thunderer. Even going bow on doesn't matter. He's going to overmatch us. So we need to avoid his line of fire altogether. That's the main reason we're going this way. The other thing is if somebody decides to push across to B, or maybe they decide to push through A trying to get some crossfires, well, we're going to be on their broadside. We have a Jean Bart that's going to hopefully take the bow on engagement, and we're just going to get some free broadsides, and it should be some pretty easy damage. These are all the things that I'm considering going in here. The other thing is that I have a radar. It allows me to see ahead behind islands. We're not going to use it yet, but I really am considering using it after I get to the next island in front of me. That's going to let me know where things are ahead and if I should be considering retreating or trying to hide on one of these islands. So that's what I'm waiting for here, but we get spotted popping around this corner. And there's a Des Moines in front of us. Fortunately, the Thunder also gets spotted, so we can keep this island between us. There's also a Donskoy, though. So again, we're going to be in some trouble here if they all decide to shoot at us. They're kind of focused on the Jean Bart, though. And if you saw the Salem review, you'll know what happens here. This was the clip that I used to talk about the annoying parts of Salem versus Des Moines, vice versa. Bow on close range engagements. You just load AP and aim for the other guy's turrets. It's kind of a cheesy tactic, but it certainly does work. So we've already temporarily disabled one of the Des Moines turrets, and we're looking to get the other one, or just disable the first one permanently. The lower down turret is a little bit hard to hit, actually, given the way the bow is shaped, but we get probably the rear one again temporarily disabled, so it's only a matter of time now until his rear one is permanently destroyed. The Des Moines decides to swap to the AP now finally to try and combat this, but he took too long. He started using the HE too soon, and well, we're just way ahead in this turret HP engagement. You can see I'm also looking for the angled bow shot, right? We can Citadel this guy at like 15 degrees. So as soon as he gives us a bit of an angle, we instantly want to go for that Citadel because that damage is so valuable. And there it is. Pretty easy, but it really came down to me getting a little lucky with the turret shots. That's not too good of RNG though. If you knock them both out permanently within the first maybe 5 to 10 salvos, that's really lucky RNG. But what we had, knocking one out after quite a while permanently, that was just okay, I would say. But it certainly worked in our favor. And of course, for some reason, this Donskoy is broadside. So we're just going to take advantage of that. And no Dev Strike, unfortunately, but Des Moines Salem AP is really good. Even though it doesn't have the best pen at long range, as we found out, the improved pen angles certainly help it work a little better. Now, where's the Thunderer? If you're wondering why I popped my radar, that's what I was trying to figure out. The Thunderer was last spotted within my radar range, which is the blue circle, by the way, and we didn't see him. So that means that he's either retreated or he's really gone for a full flank behind me. That's why I decided to push up. I'm worried he's going to be in the G2, G1 squares, trying to push up behind me, while a Bismarck charges me from the front. Fortunately, he's on low enough HP, but I believe that was the Thunderer salvo coming from the right. I just caught a glimpse of that, and I pushed out a little too far and got punished for it. Thunderers are scary. Very scary. So, reversing, we now know where he is. Relatively. We don't know the general direction that he was going in, but that's the important thing. We're going to kill this Bismarck very easily, because again, 27 mil bow, it's really not much of a contest for a Bismarck. It's just not a fight you want to take. So, pretty easy kill there, and we don't take a lot of damage. That's our Kraken Unleashed, 200k damage already, and we're still losing. Now, right here is a crucial decision. This is another one where I think I played incredibly well here. And that involves reversing away from the island. We don't know which way the Thunderer is coming from. I can survive a single salvo. Pretty much guaranteed. Assuming he doesn't get a double Citadel. I think that given my angle, he'll probably just get full pens into my upper belt. Something like that. And it'll allow me to turn away and get behind island cover. So here he comes. Thunderer came out on the left, which would have been really bad if we had stayed bow in on the island here. We take the salvo. We knew we could tank it. We even preemptively used our heal there to try and save as much HP as possible. And we duck behind the island. This is going to buy our team some time to hopefully allow our team to maybe win the game on the other flank. I've done enough work over here that we should be able to win the other side. But unfortunately, we're going to lose our Columbo. They did trade for the Hipper, though. And I think the Vanguard is going to be a double strike for the enemy team. So, alone versus 3 with very little HP left. You can see we can't heal anything more back from this 24k we have. And the enemy team's on 780 points, 2 caps. And they get a free C cap, assuming their Z46 just goes for the cap. It's very important that I'm waiting here. It's pretty time sensitive that we get out there and try and kill the Thunderer and trying to get across to the caps. But we're waiting for our heal to come back to a reasonable amount. Using the radar, we now know where the Thunderer is, but it's important we have our heal available for the second Thunderer shot. That's what I'm waiting for. Thunderer has around a 22-second reload, somewhere in there. We're going to take some pain. We take some pain, but our heal is about to come back up. And that's what we need to survive the second Thunderer salvo. That's why I waited, even though the time crunch was on, and I really felt the pressure to get out there and try and kill this guy. And are we going to be able to finish him off in time? We've got our heal ticking. We're on 17,000 HP. And we barely are able to finish him off. That is now 6 kills, but it's 800 points still. We're going to get an A, but do we have enough time to win this? Realistically, all the enemy team has to do is run off the screen. This Z46 runs to J10, he wins. There's nothing I can do. He just wins. So at this point, it comes down to whether the enemy team is going to allow me to win the game or not. You might be wondering why that Thunderer missed so badly, and that's down to the aiming system. There's some bugs and issues to say the least, with the aiming system in World of Warships. One of them, I think you know, is shells landing short. It's a pretty frustrating one. If you're on the receiving end of battleship AP or any shot in general, if you slow down and turn out, the auto aiming system can't handle it. And that's why a lot of times shells land short. They auto corrective aim to try and help you hit more salvos is going to lead and automatically change your aim to try and hit an enemy ship based on their current heading and direction, as if they were not going to change speed or change direction. Even if they're turning, it will not take that into account. That's why slowing down and turning out as a cruiser is an incredibly great tactic that a lot of very, very good players use to try and dodge battleship salvos. There are ways of mitigating this, like aiming for someone to slow down and turn out, but it's a pretty dramatic shift in where you have to aim. It's not a subtle difference, so you have to really think ahead of what the enemy cruiser is going to do to combat that. The other one is the moment you're turning and you switch over from showing your left, in this case, our left broadside to the Thunderer, and we swap over to bow on and then showing our right side of our ship, it's really hard for the aiming system to account for the drift of your ship. And you can see we kind of drifted around his shells as he shot. This really only works at closer range, where it's more likely the enemy ship is shooting at your hull directly. If their aim point is on the water, it's unlikely this is going to work. But if they're aiming for some point on your hull, well, you're drifting, and the aiming system isn't going to take that into account. That's what I was relying on, trying to save me there. It kind of worked, but we still took a lot of damage. And we're spotted. This is important, because the North Carolina could not out-detect us. This means the Z-46 has not run to the corner like he should to accept a free win. The NC is kind of running, and all he has to do really is stay behind that island at this point. It's 9:51, and I'm not using my radar. Again, we have a short-range radar. We can't just pop it as soon as we're spotted. We need to see if we can determine if the destroyer is within our radar range. Like if we step on a cap and he's in the cap for some reason that they already own. I'm being gifted a win here. We're still on low HP, but this Z-46 is potentially gifting us a win here. 7 kills, 266,000 damage. We're stalling out the B cap, and I have to kill this North Carolina in under 2 minutes. Either the enemy team is going to tick out on points, or the game is just going to end in 2 minutes 14 seconds. Using AP to start with, and the North Carolina is broadside enough that that's probably a decent choice. We're not going to really rely on fires. The other thing, you can see how saturated the North Carolina's superstructure is. We're not going to get a ton of HE damage into his superstructure. We're relying on penning his hull. And we activated Halsey. So now we have a very fast reload. When I got the Confederate, I knew it was over. I had this game in the bag. Look at this reload. 30mm plating, we can bounce that. Assuming he hits it, he actually hit our stern, which is enough to do some pretty solid damage to us. We have no heals left, but NC has a long reload, and we have Halsey Confederate activated. So that's going to be an 8-kill win with 300k damage, and not quite a solo warrior. We were so close to having a solo warrior here, but still. Alone versus 3, caps not in our favor. Admittedly, we did get gifted a win, but a lot of people don't know how to play the late game. Most people don't know to just run away and accept a win. So there you have it. Potentially one of the best games I've ever played. Like I said in the Salem review, I think this ship is incredible. And it's not just because I had this great game. I think that in most matches, you're going to have a really good time in the Salem. My commander looks a little something like this. Halsey is very nice to have on a ship like Des Moines or Salem. Because of that Confederate proc, it's just unbelievable. And of course, getting the improved gun feeder, it's very, very nice to have. Also, turret traverse. These turrets aren't particularly fast if you don't have the turret traverse improvement. But this is what I'm running, and having Salem be a premium version of the Des Moines, it very easily allows you to get Halsey on this ship even if you're running him on something else, like your Montana maybe, or a Gearing. You don't have to run him on a Des Moines just to have him for these cruisers. You can swap him onto any premium cruiser and have a good cruiser build for him. So that's another benefit of the Salem that I didn't really touch on too much in my review. Here's the upgrades as well that I'm running. It's pretty solid. Honestly, you could try running reload since that would help a lot in those closer range engagements, but the flexibility of range is very nice to have. That's the Salem, and potentially one of my best games I've ever played. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For now, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.